Yes, I believe there is a motion arising out of the in-camera work. Oh, good evening. Welcome back to the regular council meeting for Wednesday, April 16th. We're reconvening at 7:04, and I believe we do have a motion. Councillor Langmaid?
I move that council adopt the recommendation for closed meeting item 3.1 intermunicipal matters as presented in the confidential administrative report and as discussed in camera, and that the details of the discussion remain confidential pursuant to the section 24(1)A of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. We
Sorry.
move. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Was there a motion to come out of in camera?
Yes, we did. It was Councillor Langmaid at 6:59.
Okay, thank you.
We move now to the public hearing. The public hearing for bylaw number 24-22, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 14-11, is in session at 7:05 p.m. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M-26, and amendments thereto. Legislative Services.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. The purpose of the public hearing is to discuss bylaw 2422. First reading was given during the March 12th, 2025 regular council meeting. The public hearing was advertised in the following ways. March 13th, 2025, mailed notice was sent out to adjacent landowners. March 14th, 2025, posted notice on the Town of Strathmore website under the public hearing section. March 19th and March 26th, the hearing was advertised in the Strathmore Times. It was also advertised in the Strathmore Times on April 2nd and April 9th. And it was also, the notice for the hearing was also posted on the Town of Strathmore's Facebook page on April 9th. To date, no written submissions have been received.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pursuant to the Town's Council Procedure Bylaw, the following rules of conduct shall be followed during the public hearing to ensure procedural fairness. No person shall address council without the permission of the mayor. No person shall speak more than once or for more than 5 minutes, exclusive of the time required to answer questions from council. Respect for staff, council, and the public shall always be maintained, and any person who wishes to address council shall state and spell their name. The order of presentation shall be the administration, those in favor of the bylaw, those opposed to the bylaw, any other person deemed to be affected by the bylaw. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes. There will be no debating the bylaw. Would administration like to present? Good evening, Chuck.
Good evening, Council and Your Worship. My name is Chuck Proctor. I'm the Manager of Development Services. I'll be here tonight to talk about bylaw 2422. So staff have received a land use bylaw redesignation application from ZZ Enterprises Limited. This is on page 219 of your agenda, the second reading portion anyway. The addresses are 710 3rd Street, Strathmore, Alberta, Lot 2A, Block 28, Plan 992, 712 3rd Avenue, Lot 2B, Block 28, Plan 992 HV. Municipal address not applicable area / Block A, Plan 03133207, and 380 Ridge Road, Lot 3, Block 1, Plan 851985. And the application is for a combination of high-density residential and commercial. This is just a screenshot or aerial photo of where the property is located. You can see Highway 1 running east-west. That's the Travelodge and the station there, and then the red outline is where the proposed redesignation application is for. As Legislative Services mentioned, we had advertisements posted in the newspaper. Here are copies of those advertisements and the letter that we sent. Here's the copy of our mail-out radius, the folks who received a mail-out from the Town of Strathmore, notifying them of the public hearing. So the applicant has provided a list of, provided a land use analysis, a list of signatures, a concept from an architecture firm, and a transportation letter. The developer is here tonight and will be making a presentation. A summary of the report is in your agenda package. Staff think there are benefits and concerns to the application. Careful consideration of both the benefits and the concerns is warranted. Just to summarize the benefits, it's a significant investment into Strathmore's housing. Strathmore had a low vacancy rate in 2023, and that's from the Government of Alberta stats. It provides other type of housing compared to single detached. The type of housing proposed may be more affordable than single detached housing. Increasing density in the downtown is encouraged, and services are nearby. So that's a summary of the proposed benefits that staff have come up with. The proposed concerns that town have, there's no guarantee that the dwellings will be affordable. The property can be sold at any time. The application does not comply with any existing land use districts. Over 200 units per hectare is equivalent to Calgary's multi-residential, high-density, low to mid-rise in their land use bylaw. 6 stories is proposed, 22 meters tall, and 14 meters is the current requirement. Commercials in the form of short-term rentals. It's a big change for the community. An open house was encouraged, but we have no record of that occurring. And a professional plan was also encouraged to be involved, and we have no record of that occurring. So the recommendation tonight is that council take into consideration all the feedback given at the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there anyone present who supports bylaw number 24-22 who wishes to, I think at the end we have questions of clarification. Is that correct? Jonathan, is that the best way to do it? Questions of clarification at the end or as we go?
Yeah, thank you, Worship Council. Ultimately, it's up to you as the chair on how you would like to run the hearing. You do have a section at the end of the public hearing that does allow councilors to ask questions of clarification to any of the attendees of the public hearing.
Okay, let's do it that way. Let's follow the format that we have presented in writing, and then everyone will have time to ask questions of that clarification. So again, is there anyone present who supports bylaw number 24-22 who wishes to speak? And I believe we have Mr. Jean Gauvin. Okay, sure. And if you wouldn't mind coming to the microphone, and then there's a red button there, a button to turn the microphone on. And if you could just introduce yourself on the mic so that people at home can hear. Well, there is a button that'll turn. There you go.
Okay, all right. My name is John Gauvin. I'm the accountant for the developer, Loizo Zakos. Mr. Zakos owns the property through a corporation named ZZ Enterprises. Mr. Zakos owns the Travel Lodge Hotel, as well as the Strathmore Station and the Roadhouse. All of you should be familiar with Mr. Zakos. He apologized not being here tonight. He was scheduled to attend this presentation, but with the cancellation of your March 5th, pushed everything down the road. Mr. Zakos is out of the country. So he asked me to represent him tonight, answer any questions. In regards to, I'm supportive of the project. I own real estate myself quite a bit. There is definitely a need for this type of housing, combination of obviously apartment building type with affordable housing, part of the scope. I think the best way for me to prepare for this presentation was to go through the comments that Chuck had offered earlier in regards to, I'm not going to talk about the benefits. I think the benefits he nailed. There's no question about the benefit of that particular project. The concerns that he raised in regards to some of the points for the cons, let's call it this way. Will the project remain affordable for affordable housing? And the answer is yes, it is the intention to finance this project through the CMHC program, which has their own set of requirements with respect to affordable housing, accessibility, and so on and so forth. The way the program was described to me by Mr. Zakos and through my own research, it's quite specific about the requirements to meet to be able to obtain that type of financing. It's kind of a rating system. So the more affordable housing you're going to provide, accessibility, and so on and so forth. For this to qualify, for a project like this to qualify for financing, for example, 20% of the units have to be designed as affordable, and the rating is 30% lower cost than the average rental rate in the region, and so on and so forth. And it's its full intention to pursue that. This type of project would not be feasible without that type of financing. So there's no question that he intend to follow the guidelines of CHMC, which will ensure that affordable housing will be in place for a long time. Question in regards to no guarantees of not being sold. Listen, he owned those there's two specific properties, like there's different legal descriptions and so on and so forth, a piece here and a piece there, but ultimately it's two older houses across from the old Catholic church. People who've been in town for some time. Those are the sites. And he's owned those properties for more than 15 years. He's owned the Strathmore Station and Travel Lodge for more than 20. He has no intention of, it's not a flip, okay, just to be clear about this. He wants to develop the land. This is the right opportunity. What's coming in the region in regards to commercial development and so on and so forth is inviting for that type of housing. He asked me to say this, so I will. He's one of the largest employers in Strathmore. Don't kid yourself, between the station, the hotel, the roadhouse, it's more than 120 employees. One of the biggest challenges he has when you employ an individual in the hospitality industry is to find affordable housing. So this is part of the solution from his perspective. So this is why this project is important for him, because it helps support the community as a whole, to provide affordable housing, but also helps himself, and that's important. Okay. Other point that Chuck brought forward. Density, yeah, density is a challenge. And you know, yes, it's a 6-story building that he's proposing. He's asking for relaxation for that. But for all the years I've attended meetings or watched you guys on YouTube and so on and so forth in regards to zoning and development and things like that, the key element, and I own businesses in downtown, as you know, is trying to increase density in the downtown core because of accessibility, walkability, and so on and so forth. This is a solution. This is a great solution to help with that perspective of things, increasing density within the downtown core. There's no question, and Chuck noted, you know, as a benefit, services everywhere nearby within kilometers. There's two schools. The old Leroy site is within a few meters, 600 meters, 700 meters, give or take. All these businesses, hospitality type industry will need that type of housing, and that's what makes this even more appealing. So yes, it's a request for relaxation, but the density is needed, and this particular property is actually uniquely situated because of the nature of the proximity of the highway, the lack of impacted R1 type housing surrounding the area. Obviously, like the west side, he owns the Travel Lodge, the restaurants. On the east side is the actual old Catholic church site, which ultimately will probably turn into something like that, right? So eventually, and he actually gave me permission to say that he is in negotiation to acquire that piece of land as well. The only impacted individual we could identify as an immediate neighbor was Miss Peggy McLean, which owns the 1-acre parcel behind the Fish and Wildlife building. He's contacted, he had a meeting with Miss McLean. I have contacted, I spoke to Miss McLean. She's fully support this particular development, so fully aware of that. Last comment in regards to lack commercial, retail, professional service that was noted in the package I printed this today. Yes, there is definitely a very low vacancy rate for housing in Strathmore. It is not the same problem in regards to commercial and professional. There is lots of vacancy within the community, so there was absolutely no benefit or value in trying to integrate any type of professional service, commercial retail within that complex, because it would just create competition and increase the vacancy rate we're already facing. Just a quick note in regards to the commercial aspect of the application, and we tried to describe this to planning and development a little bit. The intent here is to have, because he wants to be transparent, right? So the intent here is to add a commercial piece to this, is to create the ability to have short-term housing to facilitate, again, development of industries that we're all expecting to come in the region in the next 10 years, next decade. They're not looking necessarily for hotel-type stays, but they are not committed to want to lease for a year or things like that. So that's why we want to have that particular component in the application to create that flexibility. But yeah, so I want to clarify that. With last comment on in regards to doing an open house, well, in lieu of that, and that's how Mr. Zakos operates, he thought the value of reaching out to the actual impacted individual was probably more relevant, which he was able to get essentially, what's the word, the petition, let's call it that, or support letters signed by more than 150 individuals, from employees to neighbors to directly impacted community members in support of this particular project. So with respect to the planning firm, I mean, his comments were this. Yes, he could have hired a firm to come here, assist with the presentation, probably do a better job than I do now, and basically explain to you guys that this community needs affordable housing, increased density, and so on and so forth. You guys have been sitting on council for years now. You don't need anybody, an outside firm to come and tell you that we have a problem with housing in Strathmore. So that was his comment, and he asked me to relay that to you. If the fact that we didn't pursue the open house and the hiring of the firm plays against him, at the end of the day, he was well informed. But for anybody that knows Mr. Zakos, this is how he rolls, and he's totally committed to this project. Again, like I said, he has ownership of these properties for decades now, and as you all were well aware, he is a committed individual to this community. So that was my comment about this. I'm in support of this project, obviously. We're asking for the support for council to pursue, to move forward with this application. Is that where I see questions?
Thank you. We'll have a chance for questions in just a few moments, but thank you, John. Is there anyone else present tonight who is in favor of bylaw number 24-22 who also wishes to speak? And if you do come to the microphone, we ask that you please state and spell your first and last name. Nothing at home, Jonathan? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who opposes bylaw number 24-22 who would like to speak? Seeing and hearing none. Is there anyone present deemed to be affected by bylaw number 24-22 who wishes to speak? And now I will turn to council. Are there any questions of clarification from council? Councillor Wiley and then Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
So my questions would be for the representative of the developer, Mr. Jean Gauvin. I have a few questions, if that's okay. It's a big project, so I want to get my head around it. So the list of signatures, then, I was a little confused. So tell me about how or who these signatures are that were collected.
Someone needs to turn.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my turn. The exact detail of this process weren't clear to me, but I can tell you this, that part of the process was to acquire those signatures was, as you know, as mentioned, you operates 3 businesses in Strathmore. Mr. Zakos is very vocal, very sociable, so as patrons were coming in and so on and so forth, you would reach out to them, would have a display of the actual project, so the architectural design, which is not the building you intend to build, this is just for representation, right? Presented that, the location, how he would service the community and so on and so forth. And that's how he acquired those signatures, right? He also, my understanding, he also went and reached out to other individuals within the neighborhood and to try to obtain their support, specifically people across from the old Catholic Church. There's a row housing there, and my understanding is that he contacted and reached out those people and get their support. And again, because the individual living in those particular housing are the candidate type that are also seeking, maybe another opportunity to move into a different facility and so on and so forth. So that's how I was told that he acquired those support letters.
And then you've started to explain to me about how the business works, where there's going to be a commercial part of it. Can you just reiterate that again? So there's going to be temporary? Yeah.
So just to be clear, I want to clarify that there's no intention to have any type of retail or commercial office or accountant's office down in that building, right? It's not the intention. So when Chuck presented his commercial component to it, the commercial component is more geared towards, hotel-type housing, right? But obviously, he already owns the hotel, so that's not... He's trying to find something that fits in between, right? To facilitate the engineer that comes from Toronto that needs to stay here for 2 months because they reach a phase of a project at the CGC drywall plant or the Avalanche or wherever. There's that type of need of housing when you have those type of manufacturer development, commercial or industrial development that is being built over 2, 3, or 4, 5 years, right? So he wanted to have, again, because he's being transparent, he wanted to have the ability that some of these units could be rented on a short-term basis as the need presents itself. 10 years from now, 8 years from now, 5 years from now, the manufacturers are built, there's no more need for it, then it converts it back to, year-to-year leases. That's what he's trying to achieve.
Okay. 2 more questions. So obviously there's a profitability advantage to building such a high density, but if he were to only build it at our 14-meter zoning that currently exists, is it just it's no longer financially feasible anymore?
Well, the challenge, and I left my notes, but I'll remember. So density and affordability it's 2 different things, right? So in order to be able to provide affordable housing, you need to increase density. There's only one science when regards to real estate and building and so on and so forth if you were to revert numbers back to on a per square meter or per square foot basis, you have to build upwards, right? You have to build up. You can't spread your wings. Cost of land around here is very expensive because of how close we are to Calgary and so on and so forth. And now, with everything happening around town, farmers we're selling lands at $10,000 an acre, and they're now selling land at $30,000 an acre because some lady wants to buy your land, right? So in order to keep housing, apartment housing, 3-bedroom, 2 bedrooms affordable, what you need to do is build up. And by adding 2 floors to this, that's how it's going to be able to achieve that affordability standard required by CHMC. If every floor we drop, we lose essentially 3 apartments. That means that 20% requirement, 30% below current market condition.
No, that makes perfect sense. Last question then is regarding road access. So I went over to the location and I drove it out. I was relieved to hear it was his hotel that I'd be driving through because honestly, I think that's how most people will be accessing the service road is they're going to just go right through the travel lodge, which is what I did. Or they're coming around through the downtown onto Wheatland. Yeah, tell me about road access.
The primary road access is going to be, what is that? Is it 6th on the Catholic school? That's essentially where most of the traffic is going to come through.
You picture them coming out along, is it called Lakeshore Drive, and then out onto the highway there? Like by where the old Leroy's used to be?
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the primary access, obviously. And because if you look at the design of the building, there's an underground garage, right? An underground parking area. That access is on 3rd Street, so facing the old Catholic Church site. So that's where, so to think that there's going to be a lot of traffic coming through the parking lot of the Travel Lodge, there's about 15 stalls there. Most of that traffic is going to be through 3rd Street, 5th Avenue, and so on and so forth. So now, part of the package is that those questions were asked to Bunt and Associates, which is the transportation consultant, which you're all familiar with. We all use them at some point and so on and so forth. And they responded. It says, considering the location, considering the site, the type of housing we're building and so on and so forth, the impact of transportation is not material. That's an accounting term, but I don't know what other term I can use, but it would not be. And that's why, and when planning and development asked a question to Bunt, I think they referred to a similar letter that was requested for a project, I believe, on Thomas Drive or something like that. That was their response. This is what they're proposing to do here, and they had access to all the information, does not validate the need for a full traffic impact study, because the impact will be non-material.
And was there, this is more of a question for my administration, but was there ever any talk of opening up that access point to the Range or Ridge Road or whatever it's called, the service road, right in front of it?
It used to be open.
Yeah. Okay, I'll wait to ask my administration.
Yeah,
and I'll
it
see
used
if
to be
there's-
open, it was closed, then right in, right out was built. I think, just as a quick comment, now that Fish and Wildlife is moving, what's gonna happen with that building, maybe somebody can be creative and envision something there, but right now, there's no.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mitzner?
So on your underground parkade, there will be equivalent parking, minimum one stall, or I don't know what the regulations are, for each unit? You prepared to go 3 floors down, to go 5 floors up
Sorry, say that again?
for the parkade?
Yes, there's an elevator.
No, I'm talking about parking stalls.
Yes, so the concept shows there's 70 apartment, right? And there's 75 stalls within, between the 15 or so outside and what's inside in the parkade, yes.
So you're gonna have 60 underground parking spots?
The architect designed that way.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Peterson, and then Councillor Wagoner.
So thank you, Mr. Cauvin. So the actual building is 6 stories above the ground?
Yes,
Yes. And so our fire services can manage that?
well, that was a driving factor from discussion between Mrs. Zakos and Mr. Jamie. I don't think Jamie's here. Oh.
Yeah.
I believe that the town Strathmore Fire Department has the equipment to allow for a 6-story building.
Through the chair, that wasn't discussed in detail. That'll be reviewed at the development permit stage.
It was discussed in detail?
No, it was not. That'll be discussed at the development permit stage.
So, answer the question: Does the fire department has the equipment to support a 6-story building?
CAO Scobel?
So again, that is discussed at the development permit. We haven't engaged with the fire chief on the capability of the fire department because that's a later stage.
So you're telling me that's not a council question at this point?
My understanding is that would come up during the development permit work.
Okay. And then, so you can tell me if I am completely out of line. I'm asking this question on the CMHC, you said that the project viability was met. That has been met?
So this is the first step of the process. If the proposed change in zoning and bylaw, whatever, is not approved tonight, there's no point in moving things along to the next step, right? If the zoning is approved for the, and with the consideration of a 6-story building and so on and so forth, and things like that, then the next evolution is to go back to finalize a set of architectural design to accommodate, his intentions in regards to affordable housing and so on and so forth. And complete the design in such a way that the requirement for CHMC financings are met and to its best standards. So the 20% number of units being considered affordable is a minimum. So his intention is to meet that minimum, right? For a unit to be considered affordable, the rent specific to that particular unit, one of those particular unit, has to be 30% below the current rental condition within, let's say, the town of Strathmore, right? Those are the objective to be met. Then, and it's kind of a point rating system. So the next evolution will be, well, what else can we do to secure the financing for CHMC? Well, then you go to the next point, and the next point is, how many of those units actually can be considered ADA approved, like accessible, wheelchair accessible type, and so those kind of things, right? Those are the objectives that he has, that he will work with the architects to ensure that once he has a final set of plan, he can present to CHMC, he has a proper zoning, and then say, we're seeking financing for this, this is the design concept, these are the checklists we need to meet. He may come back here in the fall and say, I'm seeking a support letter from from you guys to assist with my application for financing with CHMC. I mean, by
That was my
then,
exact next question. Thank you.
right? By
Yeah.
then, you'll be much further ahead in the process. You'll have a final set of plans and so on and so forth. And ultimately, it's not uncommon that for those type of financing, government type funded financing, that these seek the support of local, municipal.
So the debt servicing coverage ratio then can be supported through public support and through the work that was done by Community Futures Wild Rose in their needs assessment, that sort of thing.
Well, I'm not familiar with those reports. At the end of the day, it's when it'll be time for the financing component. That's actually my job. At the end of the day, it's like, once you submit the application for financing to CHMC, we got the final design. We may have a letter from council supporting, administration supporting the project, and so on and so forth. I crunch the numbers and says, this is viable. And this is, these are the number of units we're going to have with this range of rent. This is the number of units we're going to have with considered affordable with this range of rent, and so on and so forth. And if I do my job right, the math will work.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mitzner?
So we have a shortage of housing, we all know that. We have a shortage of motel rooms, we all know that. So if Lackey's prepared to do even for 50% of his employees, and then hotel rooms for now till future, is it safe to say that this is going to be his building and not for sale purposes? It's going to be just tenant-occupied building, being people, merchants for the hotel, and staff.
It's not going to be a condo complex, just to be clear about that. So it's going to be one owner, right?
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, and it's going to be one landlord, one owner, right? The one thing, and again, I've been being transparent. Chuck, in one of his points, noted that there's no guarantee that it's not going to be sold. Well, the land is owned by ZZ Enterprise right now. Once we move things along and so on and so forth, I'm going to do my job, and the lawyer's going to do his job, and we're going to incorporate a new company. We're going to transfer that property so in the standalone corporation to operate and manage that particular aspect of his business model. That's my job. But as we actually transfer ownership to somebody else, no, he still owns the thing, right? So that's the intent. He has no intention. He's owned those two primary properties for more than 15 years. And his goal ultimately was always to do development there. And like I said earlier, he's already in communication with the Catholic Archdiocese about acquiring the old Catholic Church site, so that if he's successful in this particular development, he may very well stand here in front of you in 2 years from, well, if you're reelected, in 2 years from now, and basically ask for same or similar application.
Okay, thank you, because I trust he will pride of ownership and, an asset to community for Lackey. Thank you.
Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is in regard to kind of the short-term rental aspect of this development. What what's the intention for the percentage of that building to be short-term rentals versus long-term rentals?
None, or, well, for sure, we're never going to compromise, he's never going to compromise his commitment to CHMC, so there's that aspect of it, right? For anybody that owns real estate, like I do, having new tenants every 2 months is a pain in you know what, right? So I think it's going to be a small component, a small percentage. What number, I don't know. But, you know, maybe it's a question that will evolve. Eventually, we'll have some answers to it. I mean, you know, we may not see a development west of town for another 5 years. God knows. They're keeping their cards pretty close to the chest, from my perspective anyway. So then, you know, this could be ready, say, we get approval today, you know, and in 2 years' time, we may have, you know, the first walk-in moving into an apartment building if everything, all the stars align and so on and so forth. In 2 years from now, there may not be a need for any type of short-term housing. Well, he's not going to keep them vacant, right? He's going to lease them, right? That's the intent. So need a little bit of a crystal ball on that one, but one thing for sure is that if he gets approval and he gets approval on financing with CHMC, he sets the bar. The bar is going to be established by CHMC about what's going to be affordable, what's going to be accessible, and then beyond that, I guess at first glance, it's going to be market condition as well, right? So if there's now, like anything else, if there's lots of demand for housing, then price will be adjusted accordingly. If there's in 5 years from now, based on other development that may happen in town or economy or things like that, demand for housing may come down, and so is the price for rental. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions of clarification from council?
I have questions for administration, so
Councillor
Mr.
Wiley?
Govan could sit down. I just have 3 questions for administration. So I think they're all zoning questions, if that helps. With the rezone then that's being requested, what would that allow for commercial? Like how much does that open up?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Wiley. The bylaw just allows for hotels as a discretionary use. So there is no guaranteed percentage or anything like that. We know it's not going to be retail. We know it's not going to be office space. It's going to be for hotels only. Thank you.
Okay. 2 more questions.
Sorry, if I could jump in, Councillor Wiley, that's on page 105 of our agenda package.
Okay, thank you. 2 more questions. With parking, so 1 parking stall per unit is acceptable. Does administration have any comments on the parking that's being proposed for that area?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's more of a detailed design question that would be asked at the development permit stage of staff. But from my understanding, the property is not within the downtown overlay district, and there's some interpretation there of the parking requirement for the building.
And then 3rd question, if that area were to continue to become higher and higher density, so for example, let's say this came in as well as across the street, you could probably even have 2 more units of that size. Obviously just ballparking, and maybe this is an Ethan question, what would the traffic flow look like, particularly opening up that service road? Is that even a consideration?
Thank you, Your Worship, to you, Councillor Wiley. I'll answer first the question on traffic flow. You know, the natural way based on our current road structure is, I think it's 6th Avenue past the school would probably be the one primary, and the other one would be 3rd Street back towards downtown. I would expect those to be your primary traffic flows in and out of the building. Where they go from there is their choice. To answer the connection to the service road, now, I'm trying to recall exactly when that was closed. Yeah, that's kind of what I was suspecting. Either way, based on what I know from Alberta Transportation, is I would suspect that that would not be reopened. What I would suspect is if we wanted to connect 3rd Street to that service road, we would then lose the connection to Highway 1. To me, you have one or the other, but not both. Now, I haven't consulted with Alberta Transportation on that. That's simply my
professional opinion at the moment, but based on what I've seen for other applications or requests around town in other areas, that's likely what would occur.
Which undoes anything we'd want to do by opening up that service road. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing for bylaw number 24-22, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 14-11 at 7:43 p.m. Sorry, I didn't hit your glasses. Yeah. All right, we move now to 4.2, land use amending bylaw number 25-06, Edgefield Phase 3. The public hearing for bylaw number 25-06, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 14-11, is in session at 7:44 p.m. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M-26, and amendments thereto. Legislative Services.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. The purpose of the public hearing is to discuss bylaw 2506. The first reading was given during the March 12, 2025 regular council meeting. The public hearing was advertised in the following ways. March 13th, 2025, notice was mailed to adjacent landowners. March 14th, 2025, notice was posted on the Town of Strathmore website under the public hearing section. March 19th, 2025, advertisement in the Strathmore Times. March 26th, 2025, advertisement in the Strathmore Times. April 2nd, 2025, advertisement in the Strathmore Times. April 9th, 2025, advertisement in the Strathmore Times. And on April 9th, 2025, notice was posted on the Town of Strathmore Facebook page. 3 written submissions in opposition were received by the town, and 1 submission in favor of the bylaw has also been received to date.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pursuant to the town's council procedural bylaw, the following rules of conduct shall be followed during the public hearing to ensure procedural fairness. No person shall address council without the permission of the mayor. No person shall speak more than once or for more than 5 minutes, exclusive of the time required to answer questions from council. Respect for staff, council, and the public shall always be maintained, and any person who wishes to address council shall please state and spell their name. The order of presentation shall be the administration, those in favor of the bylaw, those opposed to the bylaw, and any other person deemed to be affected by the bylaw. Council may ask questions after, we should have done this last time then. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes. There will be no debating the bylaw. So are we comfortable doing that then if you have questions right of the speaker at the time? Okay, thank you. Would administration like to present? And I believe we have Kate Bakun. Is that how you say your last name? And you'll be presenting for administration. Thank you. Good evening, Kate.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. One moment, please. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Today, I would like to present an application for land use redesignation of Edgefield Phase 3 with total area approximately 9.92 hectares or 24.5 acres. The external and internal circulation were concluded on February 27, 2025. No concerns have been raised regarding the project by any agencies, and we have received letters from adjacent landowners. Currently, these properties are designated as Agriculture General District under the land use bylaw. These properties are surrounded by a single detached residential narrow lot district and low density residential district and public service district from the west side, while the Agriculture General District borders them on the south, east, and north sides. The Edgefield Area Structure Plan, ASP, adopted on February 1st, 2012, provides a guiding framework for development in this area. The proposed redesignation aligns with the overall vision of the ASP as outlined in the Municipal Government Act, and ASP serves as a broad planning framework for land use density, transportation, and utilities. The proposed redesignation will facilitate the development of 49 lots of residential narrow lot single detached district, 50 lots of low density residential district, and 1 lot of medium density modest residential district, and 2 lots of public service district. The project supports a diverse range of housing options while incorporating community amenities such as a pond and landscaped areas, contributing to a well-connected and vibrant neighborhood. In summary, the proposed land use redesignation is the next step for Edgefield, may help elevate housing demand and enhance the livability and vibrancy of the area. And tonight we recommend Council proceed with the public hearing for bylaw number 2506 and take into consideration all information received at public hearing. Thank you, Your Worship and Council.
Are there any questions from Council for Kate? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present who is in favor of bylaw number 25-06 who wishes to speak? And if you could state and spell your first and last name for people at home and in the gallery.
Good evening, Your Worship. My name is Alan Boucher, A-L-A-N-B-O-U-C-H-E-R. I am the applicant on this file and the developer's representative this evening, speaking in favor. Okay, just want to test run to make sure I know how to use this thing. Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Appreciate your time this evening. Again, my name is Alan Boucher. I'm the principal of BLV Development Management. I'm a registered professional planner with over 16 years of experience in land development, both in private sector and with public and institutional organizations across Alberta. Through my company, I work with landowners to help them move projects forward in a way that aligns with local plans, reflects community priorities, and ensures technical and servicing requirements are properly addressed. I've been working with Paulico Group of Companies as their local development consultant, supporting their planning efforts in Edgefield. Paulico is a privately held Canadian company with a long history of delivering successful residential and commercial projects across Western Canada. They've been active in Strathmore for over a decade now and remain committed to completing the Edgefield community in a way that is consistent with the town's vision and respectful of the resident feedback. I'm here tonight to walk you through the proposed subdivision and speak to the steps Paulico has taken to respond to some of the community concerns and deliver permanent infrastructure and open space that supports the town's long-term vision. I would like to thank administration and Kate for their presentation. I will try to be brief and not repeat the key points Kate delivered, but I did want to start off with the Edgefield Area Structure Plan, which is the guiding statutory policy that the town of Strathmore has for development in Edgefield. We are bordered by the Trans-Canada Highway at the south and George Freeman Trail on the west side. On the plan, you can see highlighted in red, I'm not sure if this thing has a pointer, the Phase 3 boundary. The Edgefield ASP contemplates a variety of housing types, open spaces, and infrastructure needed to support the community. One thing I would like to note relevant to the discussion is the storm ponds were contemplated to be located further east under the ASP. In this proposal, we are locating it in Phase 3, and I'll touch on that in more detail here shortly. Again, Phase 3 is about 99 residential lots, 50 paired homes, 49 single-family homes, and a 2.36-acre multifamily site, which will deliver affordable product to the market. Importantly, this phase also introduces a permanent storm pond to replace the existing interim facility. along with public park space and a pathway network surrounding this new pond. These features aim to improve function and access for the broader community. Now, as part of our process and engagement with the town, we obviously became aware of some of the concerns that were submitted by nearby residents, and we took efforts to meet one-on-one with some of these residents, and they expressed concerns, particularly around the removal of the existing storm pond. We feel it's very important to validate these concerns and take them seriously, and these conversations helped us better understand how this pond has become not only viewed as a feature, but an amenity for families in the community. And I'll touch on that further in terms of how we've gone about addressing that through our plan and proposal. The next few slides are going to illustrate how the site has evolved over time, particularly the condition of the interim storm pond. And again, you can see that pond highlighted in the blue shade, which is roughly the area of Phase 3. Now, although the interim pond was never designed to be a natural habitat, it has over time to attract birds and plant life, and residents are understandably questioning whether environmental impacts were properly considered. And I'd like to confirm with you that they have. A wetland assessment and impact study was completed in October of 2024. One wetland was identified on the east side, highlighted as 2D there. But we can confirm that the existing interim storm pond facility did not have any wetlands that would qualify under the Water Act with the province. Further to that, wetland compensation was paid by Qualico to Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, and subsequently Water Act approval was issued by the province on February 18th, 2025 regarding clearance of all the wetlands. And proper documentation has of course been shared with administration in that regard. Going back to the first phase of the community, when it comes to land development, infrastructure is built out incrementally, as you can imagine, when we're building over hundreds of acres. It is built based on market conditions and absorption rates, and interim solutions are often implemented during early stages of development until permanent solutions can be brought in operationally in later phases, such is the case in Edgefield. And this started in 2014 with the first phase. You can see there that an interim pond was built. Moving forward to 2019 with the development of the high school, you could see further grading activities occurring north of that interim storm pond. And again, this is to continue to accommodate phase build-out as the community is developed over time. Moving forward to 2020, you again can see that the interim storm pond that was built with Phase 1 is no longer, and that a new facility was built to now service Phase 1, the high school site, and Phase 2. Going back closer to where we are today, you can see Phase 1, Phase 2, and the high school site are now fully built out, and the interim pond remains in operation. But I would like to highlight in blue that the rough grading for the permanent storm pond was already contemplated and underway. And here we are today, and just for reference, we have overlaid the Phase 3 subdivision plan on top of this ortho, and you can see how that impacts the location of the interim storm pond where it stands today, and then in relation to the permanent storm pond that is shaded in blue. One constraint to keeping the storm pond in its current location relates to the main road that travels east-west, Edgefield Avenue. This is a major road with utilities that are planned to service phases to the east. So this, together with the grades of the site, we are trying to put it in the natural low-lying location of the land so it can drain. This land ultimately drains all the way to Eagle Lake. It is the main reason why a permanent pond could not be built in the location of the current interim pond. It's also important to acknowledge the current state of the interim pond. It's on private property with no formal public access. It wasn't constructed to Alberta Environment or Town of Strathmore in engineering standards. There's no maintained slope or outlet for the water. which has led to stagnation of the water in certain conditions, in certain times of the year. In short, it cannot support long-term stormwater servicing needs for the community. The proposed permanent storm pond changes that. It brings the area into compliance with the environmental and engineering standards that I reference. But more importantly, it also provides dedicated public parkland, pathway connectivity, and reconstructed natural features that act as a wetland habitat around the pond. You can see the concept here, and you maybe can't see all the detail, but pathways, benches. The general manager of Polico is a big advocate involved with Ducks Unlimited. We're also chatting with them about installing some interpretive signs, maybe some bird lookouts. It's very important that this becomes a real jewel for the community. And as I mentioned, this facility is being built with care. It will be low maintenance, so when the town turns it over, it does not become a liability. It will be properly treated, and it will be designed with an outlet so that water can circulate properly. One thing I would like to highlight is that the location of the pond, as I mentioned earlier, the original ASP at the pond's located further east, but we heard the community loud and clear. It's a very important amenity for them in those two existing phases. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to keep the new pond as close to the current footprint as possible. And this comes at additional costs. There's a significant grading program that's being undertaken to do this. And this will help to preserve sightlines and amenity value for those existing homes as much as possible. So to summarize, regarding the public concerns, what we have done, again, the original pond was to be located further east. At extra cost, we are trying to keep that pond as tight as possible to its current location. However, there are constraints in terms of meeting proper standards, so that's why it's shifting a bit. And again, the outcome here is really to preserve part of the visual and recreational benefits for existing residents where possible, rather than placing new homes directly behind them according to the ASP. Now, we realize some people are losing and some people are gaining, and that's probably why you're seeing a variety of letters of support. But again, we're being guided by the ASP and the engineering and standards that this town of Strathmore follows. And I just, again, want to highlight, most importantly, the commitment to public spaces. We think this reconstructed storm pond facility, the wetland, the bird blinds, interpretive signage is going to add a lot of value, and hopefully council would support that as well. So to conclude, Phase 3 delivers a variety of housing types to meet community needs. The proposed permanent pond addresses long-term servicing while enhancing the public space. And it also reflects on both the technical requirements and the feedback we've received from residents. The result is a functional, accessible, and visibly appealing space for the community, and Polico and their team remains committed to working with the town to complete the Edgefield community in a thoughtful and respectful manner. I want to thank you very much for your time this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Deputy Mayor Mitzner, and then Councillor Wiley.
Is this the final phase of Edgefield?
Through the chair, it is not. No, there are several more phases planned to the east. I'll just go back to the ASP for a reference.
Please.
So you can see the Edgefield ASP. We're into Phase 3, and essentially there is quite a bit of land remaining. Polico owns the land to the east up into the canal, and then directly south, another landowner, Anthem, owns that property.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Wiley.
Just want to start by saying how appreciative I am of your thoroughness in dealing with some of the concerns and addressing them about the storm pond. I just want to give you an opportunity to explain to anybody at home or anyone who's interested, even if council were to vote against this amendment to the ASP, that storm pond doesn't stay where it is. Is that correct? Because the 2014 one that you have up right now already has it scheduled for a different location.
Through the chair, That is correct. As I mentioned, the ponds in the original ASP were located further east. Hearing the concerns from the community, we are trying to keep it as tight to the current location as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's significant when you were able to show us the layover on that road. I think you called it Edgefield, just Edgefield Street, or Edgefield Avenue. Yeah, that is the access point to the rest of the community, so I can see that clearly. Are there any other comments about the road, Edgefield Avenue?
Through the chair, the road for transportation, obviously, but also very important is there are major utilities under the road, water and sanitary, which will service those phases to the east.
No, I think that's noteworthy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Any further questions? Seeing and hearing none. Is there anyone else present who is in favor of bylaw number 25-06 who wishes to speak? Seeing and hearing none. Is there anyone present who opposes bylaw number 25-06 who wishes to speak? I believe your name is Corey Adamson. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Fuel and Council. My name is Corey Adamson. That's spelled Coryaadamson.
And my name is Jessica Duado, Jessicadioiron.
Thank you for the opportunity for us to speak to you today. To be clear, we're not opposed to the development of Phase 3. We support our growing community, and our concerns just lies with, of course, the proposed removal of the existing pond and its replacement with a new one a few meters south. So we have seen today some of the challenges, of course, that comes along with that. So some refer to this as a relocation, but that term does feel a little misleading. The current pond isn't being moved, it's being destroyed. And a new engineered pond will be built in its place. And it could take, quite a while to naturalize as well. You'll find a more detailed letter from me on page 318 of your agenda package, which has some pictures of the pond. But I'll highlight some key points that were in there, as well as present some new ones. 15 years ago, it looked like it was 15 years ago, this pond may have been designed maybe as a temporary storm pond. I see today that maybe that timeline is a little off. The temporary storm pond or evaporation pond since then seems to have evolved into a thriving naturalized pond. And it seems to have all the hallmarks of a wetland. I'm not a professional wetland person, but it increases in water volume, supports many wetland-looking plants, provides natural animal habitats. Many migratory birds have nested in there. In fact, we've seen some new ones today. These shallow naturalized water bodies, from what I understand, can be even more ecologically valuable than deeper ones. Coincidentally or not, just a few days ago, before the public hearing, bulldozers stripped the pond's shorelines and banks. I understand that the developer had stripping and grading permit, as well as migratory bird and wetland approvals. But to do that work on a pretty publicly contested area of the subdivision and land use bylaw, just days before this hearing, just kind of sends the wrong message to the residents like me and my neighbor. So it kind of seems like it undermines the public process and forces our argument a little moot. I know that the land behind our house isn't ours, but when we bought our homes, we were never told this large natural-looking pond would be removed. And let's be honest, I mean, most homeowners don't review like decade-old ASPs before buying their house. So that pond, which is comparable in size to Kinsman Lake, felt permanent, and we believed it would be protected. I believe this is a moment to revisit some of those early decisions, especially if they no longer reflect the realities before us today. Whether or not it qualifies as a wetland under provincial definitions, this pond has become a valued ecological community feature in the neighborhood. If there were trails around it, despite it being artificial or temporary, I'm confident many more residents would be speaking here tonight. Strathmore's municipal development plan clearly states that the wetlands should be retained and incorporated into subdivision design wherever possible. I ask the same approach be applied to naturalized wetlands, not just those originally, that have existed there before. And if that's the case, the current ASP is potentially at odds with the MDP. I believe it does deserve some attention. There are also real impacts to homeowners. So removing this plan reduces the value and appeal of homes that were built and sold with it as a feature. Homes without this feature currently will not be negatively affected financially if this pond doesn't move. As for infrastructure, I don't believe that the current layout necessarily prevents the preservation. A south rerouting of Edgefield Street and perhaps using the bend as a park entrance could be beneficial, which could still allow utilities to connect that way, or maybe simply run under the pond. The elevation of that area is quite low, and I don't see why there wouldn't be already a need for a lift station. It's also been suggested that the current pond is too far from the drainage outfall, and when you compare the two locations, the difference seems minor. With proper planning, we feel it could work. Financially, if the pond, if the pond truly can't be saved, we urge you to consider the steep embankment behind our homes. It shows properties butting against ours directly, and I perceive new lots may lose usable yard space. So I understand recently that may actually be brought up to the same level, which is quite a bit of dirt. But at the very least, we feel that maybe a multi-use path along that area would provide a buffer, maybe a drainage route, and connect affected residents to the proposed new pond north and to the north side of the pond while protecting some of the value of our homes. So in closing, we respectfully ask Council to encourage the developer to revise the plan to integrate the existing naturalized wetland and to restore the damage now done to it. Maybe consider whether the ASP conflicts with the MDP when naturalized ponds are involved. And thirdly, maybe look at perhaps a grading assessment for the embankment by your house and maybe consider a public space or a pathway along that area, connecting and providing access to the north of the proposed pond. So Strathmore is growing, and we support that growth and hopefully without sacrificing these naturalized spaces that already add value and beauty to our neighborhoods. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone present deemed to be affected by bylaw number 25-05 who also wishes to speak? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing for bylaw. All throughout? Did you have more questions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My apologies. I was just writing down my questions, and I forgot to ask my questions. I have two more questions then for the representative for the developer. I just wanted to give you a chance to comment on two of the things that came up during that presentation. One of them was just a comment on a bulldozer had already come in and started stripping the embankment. Is there any comments on that?
Yes. As part of the anticipation of this project, there was a need to prep the site in terms of mowing the grass and dealing with some of the conditions that we need to fulfill before we start grading in terms of our Water Act approval with the province. So that's what occurred. Very limited and superficial, essentially knocking down the long grass to avoid any birds nesting prior to grading starting. All permitted under our stripping and grading permit, which we obtained from the town.
Yeah, and in line with the already existing ASP.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. Second question is, there was a question then specifically about, I'm going to use the wrong vocabulary here, but is it the grading to raise the land behind the existing houses? Did you want to give any just details on what that would look like then?
Through the chair, we do have our civil engineer here as well, who could perhaps add some more detail, but I can kind of give you my planning lens on it. As part of the utilities under the road that I mentioned, you need certain depth and coverage. So that is kind of the key driver in terms of setting grades for the site. As Edgefield Avenue goes from west to east, We're starting to transition down into the community towards the canal. So behind the homes of the two residents that just spoke, we're going to see fills of roughly 4 to 5 meters, all in line with Town of Strathmore engineering standards, and proper fill and compaction and geotech will be on site. So that's what I could comment. If you'd like some more technical details, I can
That's
certainly
as
go over
technical as I get. No,
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Then I will close the public hearing for bylaw number 25-06, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 14-11 at 8:14 p.m. We move now to public comments. Are there any public comments tonight? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak on any item on the agenda? Seeing none. We have no delegations tonight. Thank you, Jonathan. We move now to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council would like to see removed and discussed separately, individually? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion. Councillor Wagoner.
I move that council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 8.1, regular council meeting minutes, April 2nd, 2025. 8.2, special council meeting minutes, April 7th, 2025. 10.3, Strathmore Legion crosswalk. 10.4, accounts receivable write-offs. 10.5, budget amendment, Northern and Regional Economic Development Program grant funding. 11.2.1, Wademsa, April 25th, report to council. 12.1, Minister MacGyver letter, April 8th, 2025, regarding Bill 50.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion.
No, Your Worship.
Councillor Montgomery.
Yeah, sorry, pardon me. I'd like to make an amendment to that motion to remove the Legion crosswalk, please.
Your amendment is to remove the crosswalk and deal with it individually?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so, all right, so we have a motion to amend the motion that was presented. Is there discussion on that amending motion? Then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion is carried. We will take the 10.3 item, Strathmore Legion crosswalk, and do it separately. So now we have a motion on the floor for all the rest of them to be removed. Are we good with all of that? Oh, sorry. Okay, so to be accepted into the omnibus, right? So I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. So we will deal with 10.3 separately. Councillor Wiley.
Just to check with procedure with administration, 9.1 then is open for a motion.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. That's correct. Council may at this time decide to make a motion for second reading and then subsequently third reading if you so choose.
Yeah, I'd be ready to make a second reading. So I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 2422, that being the, do I have to read all that? Or is 2422 sufficient?
Yeah, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw 1411 would.
Being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw 1411.
Thank you. And now that we have a motion for second reading, we can have debate and discussion. Are there comments? Councillor Wiley?
Yeah,
Councillor Wiley?
I don't mind. I can speak to it. I am in favor of this motion. I'm cautiously in favor of this motion. I think we all are very aware of the housing shortage. I think it's very, to be honest, exciting to imagine this kind of densification right in our downtown. It's the image of the downtown revitalization that I've had for a long time. I like the idea of the service access. I think it increases the number of commercial, or at least the demand for commercial in the downtown. But definitely my hesitation is the highway access. I'm actually quite fond of the height of it. I think it's a great spot for something of that size. So I'm curious what the rest of council thinks, and I'm willing to put forward it as a motion.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. I am in favor of this as well, with the motion that Councillor Wiley made for second reading. I believe that this will enhance the downtown, the density of the downtown. It will provide security to the existing businesses along Ridge Road and in that area. Will also enhance the population of the nearby schools. I think that that gives walkability to both the Westmount School and to Christ the Redeemer School on the east side. I have no concerns about access as per Mr. Wilson's comments. I think that that there is ample accessibility from all three directions, and including, I think that coming off of Lakeside Boulevard to Ridge Road through the lot as well is also a good option. So I have no concerns whatsoever. I live in the shadow of this building. I'm excited for it. I think that if there's any way that we can make it work, that it will do exactly what Mr. Gauvin suggested in terms of creating that additional housing resource, particularly in the rental market, that will bring us into accessible homes for the people that are needed in our community. I also want to say that one of the reasons that I'm for this is that the needs assessment that was carried out, I think Mr. Zakos was a part of that, the needs assessment that came through the Wild Rose Economic Development on the Rural Renewal Project, speaks to this, that this is something that will be extremely useful in the guiding principles that they laid out for this in terms of getting employment into our fast food industry, our restaurants and our hotels. It could supply that sustainability that we need to further develop our commercial into the future. So I'm grateful for this proposal coming forward, and I'm very hopeful that it will be successful.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. So I won't echo what Councillor Peterson and what Councillor Wiley have already said. I too support this. I am cautiously optimistic about what could come forth from this, and I think that if something like this is going to go anywhere, I think this is probably one of the better places to put it. And I look forward to seeing more firm details coming in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I am also in favor of this. I believe that Strathmore is desperate for rental accommodation and property for people who work in fast food industries. I believe I believe in Lackey. I think he's got a good product looking forward, and I believe that the underground parking will be very good as far as reducing the concerns of any kind of a parking situation. So I'm definitely in favor of this. So we have a motion for second reading. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. Councillor Peterson?
Your Worship, I would move that Council give third reading to bylaw number 25-06, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 14-11.
Thank you. Pardon me?
Sorry, Your Worship. It was just, there's some confusion in the skeleton minutes. We just quoted
So we're
24-22 bylaw.
24-22. Thank you. So we're having third reading on the land use bylaw, amending bylaw number 24-22. All in favor, Councillor Wiley?
Sorry, is there no time for questions or comments, I mean?
I think
I
we
can
can,
hold-
John. We've had it after second reading, and now we're on third reading. But yeah, you can comment.
Sure, I'm just not actually going to support the third reading at this time. I would like to now have some time that people maybe could bring forward any other concerns or anything like that. Or is that a procedural problem? I'm getting the light. That's a procedural problem.
Jonathan?
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Now that the public hearing has been closed, council cannot accept any new information.
Oh, I see.
For procedural fairness for all
All
those that
right,
were attending the
we'll
hearing.
rewind the tape.
Any other comments? Then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. Okay. So we move now to item 9.2, Land Use Bylaw, amending bylaw number 25-06, Edgefield Phase 3, second reading report. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 25-06, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 14-11.
Thank you. And now that we have second reading on the floor, we can have discussion. Comments? Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again my questions that had been for the developer. Ultimately, at the end of the day, even if council were to vote this bylaw down, that storm pond is not saved. The area structure plan already allows for it to be moved. And so sort of the only hang up I had was the storm pond, but there just wouldn't be any point in voting against this bylaw. So I just want to be clear why I'm going to be in favor of it.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. I just have a question to administration. And does our ASP address naturalized wetlands this time?
Welcome back, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. May I ask you to repeat again? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just, so when Mr. Adamson was speaking, he did mention and I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth. He noted a discrepancy between our ASP and our municipal development plan, in his opinion. And he said that, he said something about looking into the ASP addressing naturalized wetlands. So my question is, does the current ASP address what he termed a naturalized wetland? I don't know what that means, but I was just asking. I'm sorry.
I think I need to highlight that current ASP was adopted in 2012. MDP was adopted, as I correct remember, in 2014. Yes, and it's like a little bit difference about this one. And I think question about wetlands may transfer to Ethan, please.
Jamie, did you want to weigh in, or CAO Scoble?
Well, I'd suggest, the public hearing's closed, but we could comment on what the MDP says on naturalized areas, and maybe I'll ask Director Dugdale to do that.
Through the chair, I believe the question was on the ASP.
I guess
The application, I guess the short answer,
I've never seen it in the ASP.
The short answer is this application is consistent with both the MDP and the ASP.
Yeah, and so that is my question, and I appreciate that answer. And so I am in favor of this, and I'm in favor of the development as proposed and put before council. I think that that it is a really well thought out plan in terms of, and fits in so well with our community and with reflecting, what is currently in Strathmore Lakes, Kinsman Park, and now having a similar park on the east side of town. I like the vision of the Scottish Terrier storm pond. I think that was kind of a neat look, but I suggest that it could be a Sylvia the cow storm pond if it was going to be rebuilt. But I was told by somebody involved in hydrology recently that they don't call them storm ponds anymore. They refer to them as storm parks. And so I thought that what BLV Development and Polyco has put in, that it looks very much in line with what we're seeing in all the different aspects of our community throughout. And I do appreciate what our Town of Strathmore presenter, what Kate said about, you know, the ASP being approved in 2012 and the MDP in 2014, and that this council has an obligation to respect that going forward. And I appreciate the fact that the planner and developer has taken into consideration some changes that exist legislatively to be able to move forward with the project. And the other thing the other question I had, and I guess was with regards to the comment about a multi-use path through the buffer zone. And I don't know if that's on the agenda for future, but I would look forward to that being part of it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery and then Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I guess, speak briefly about, I think something that many people feel. It's a shame to lose a wetland, whether, you know, however long it's been there. You know, it's a shame. Wetlands serve a quiet but critical role in our ecosystem. They filter water, they support wildlife, and they hold a kind of beauty that's often overlooked until it's gone. And so I certainly sympathize and I understand where these concerns are coming from and the sense of loss that is being addressed here. As it's already been pointed out, unfortunately, this particular wetland is on private property, and that kind of, for me, that kind of, you know, really affects the situation. Not that I'm deciding, you know, about, you know, whether the wetland should stay or go here, but I want to, I guess, just speak to the concerns of the residents in the area and how they're being affected. I think our primary, at least my primary goal here is to ensure that there's responsible development going on within the framework that we've been given. And I appreciate the concerns that have been raised, and I hope that we continue to think seriously about natural spaces, how we can protect them, where we can preserve them, and how we can build in a way that respects their value. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
So moving forward, I think this is a prime subdivision and you're producing additional housing, plus the walkability to the George Freeman School is very important. They're not crossing a major roadway, and I fully support your application. Thank you.
Thank you. My own comments are that I'm very confident in this development. I've seen the past developments of the developer owner in the past, and it's been very good. I believe this is just going to be a temporary loss of a wetland because it's going to be replaced by something even better. The storm ponds that are planned will be an even better amenity. It'll also be a better part of our stormwater system. So I'm also impressed, and I wanted to compliment you on the care and the fact that you listen so much to the residents in the area. So I will be gladly supporting this development. Thank you. So any further comments or discussions? I'll call the question for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion is carried. Councillor Peterson.
I'd move that council give third reading to bylaw number 25-06, being a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw number 14-11.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any further discussion or comments that I might have missed? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. Thank you to everyone who was here, the staff and developers, people from the audience, who are the residents. We move now to item 10, business. 10.1. I'm wondering if I could just ask council for a quick recess, just a very brief one.
I move that council take a 4-minute recess at 8:33.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion is carried.